I'm sitting at the corner table of the Riverside Yacht Club, surrounded by 23 members of the Pendleton family, and I can feel the weight of their collective disdain pressing against my chest like it has for the past 28 years. The crystal chandeliers above cast a warm glow over faces that have never once looked at me with genuine warmth. Tonight is Constance's 82nd birthday, my mother-in-law, the matriarch who made it her life's mission to remind me that I would never be good enough for her son. The table stretches long and elegant, covered in ivory linens that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Silver gleams under the soft lighting. The waitstaff moves with practiced efficiency, serving courses that I can barely taste because my stomach has been twisted in knots since we arrived 2 hours ago. I've learned to smile through these family gatherings, to nod at the right moments, to laugh softly when they make their little jokes at my expense. 28 years of practice makes you very good at playing a role. Gregory sits to my right, my husband of nearly 3 decades, nursing his 4th glass of Cabernet. I noticed when he ordered the 3rd. He always drinks more at these family events, as if he needs liquid courage to tolerate the wife he chose, or perhaps to participate more enthusiastically in the subtle torture that passes for conversation at Pendleton gatherings. His brother Philip is holding court at the other end of the table, regaling everyone with a story about sailing in the Hamptons last summer. A trip that I funded, though no one mentions that part. "Simone, you look lovely tonight," Constance says from her throne at the head of the table, and I recognize the trap immediately. 28 years of compliments that aren't really compliments. That dress must be new, very bold. The dress is Valentino, purchased last month in Manhattan, deep emerald green because I know it flatters my figure. I'm 57 years old, and I've worked hard to maintain my health, my appearance, my sense of self-worth despite everything. But Constance has a gift for making every compliment sound like a criticism. Bold means too much. Bold means trying too hard. Bold means you still don't understand how we do things here. "Thank you, Constance," I reply with the smooth grace I've perfected. "I thought your birthday deserved something special." She smiles, but her eyes remain cold. Pale blue eyes that have looked at me the same way for 28 years, like I'm something unpleasant she found on the bottom of her shoe. Next to her sits Philip's wife, Margaret, who gives me that pitying smile that says she's grateful she married into this family before I did, that her position is secure in a way mine never will be. The conversation flows around me like I'm a stone in a river. They talk about people I don't know from clubs I'm not invited to join. They reference inside jokes from decades before I arrived. Gregory occasionally pats my hand in what might look like affection to outsiders, but feels more like a handler reminding a dog to stay quiet. I've built an empire, sold my jewelry business for $12 million, provided the lifestyle that keeps this entire family afloat in ways they conveniently forget. And still, I sit at this table feeling like the help that's been allowed to eat with the family. Marcus, my 32-year-old son, is sitting across from me next to his wife Jennifer. He's laughing at something Philip said, and I see so much of Gregory in him that it hurts. The way he dismisses me with his eyes when I speak. The way he takes money from me like it's his birthright, but treats my opinions like they're amusing distractions from serious adult conversation. My daughter Isabel sits further down, and when our eyes meet, I see apology in hers. She's always been different. She's always seen. The main course arrives. Filet mignon that I can't eat because anxiety has stolen my appetite. I push the food around my plate and take small sips of water, counting the minutes until I can politely excuse myself. Just a few more hours. I've survived 28 years of this. I can survive one more dinner. That's when Philip makes his joke. "You know what I love about these family gatherings?" he says loudly, his voice carrying over the conversations. The table quiets. Philip loves an audience. "It's that we can all be honest about who really keeps this family running." Several people chuckle. I feel my shoulders tense. "I mean, let's be real," Philip continues, gesturing with his wine glass. "Some of us were born into this family, and some of us—" He pauses for effect, his eyes sliding toward me briefly. "Well, some of us married very, very well." The laughter is louder now. Not from everyone. Isabel's face has gone pale, but enough people laugh that the message is clear. Gregory shifts beside me, and I wait for him to say something, anything, to defend me, to remind his brother that I'm his wife, that I deserve respect, that my money might have married well, but my character deserves better than this. Instead, Gregory lifts his wine glass. His hand is steady, his smile is wide, and then he speaks, and the world as I know it shatters into pieces that I'll spend the rest of the night trying to pick up off this pristine white tablecloth. "You think I married her for love?" Gregory says, his voice clear and strong and deliberately cruel. He's looking at Philip, performing for the audience, and I realize in this horrible moment that this isn't the wine talking. This is something he's wanted to say for years. I have pity for her. I always have. The silence lasts exactly 3 seconds. 3 seconds where I stop breathing, where my heart seems to forget how to beat, where every single person at this table processes what was just said. And then they laugh. Not uncomfortable laughter, not awkward chuckles, real, genuine, relieved laughter. Like Gregory has finally said out loud what they've all been thinking for 28 years. Like he's given them permission to stop pretending that I belong here. Constance actually wipes tears from her eyes. She's laughing so hard. Philip raises his glass in a mock toast. Margaret's shoulders shake with mirth. Marcus is grinning, shaking his head like his father just made the joke of the century. Only Isabel isn't laughing. My daughter's face is frozen in horror, and she starts to stand, starts to say something, but her voice is lost in the noise. Jennifer, Marcus's wife, pulls at his sleeve, but he brushes her off, still chuckling. I sit there, my hands folded in my lap, my spine straight, my face carefully composed. 28 years of practice at hiding what I feel. 28 years of swallowing humiliation and calling it marriage. 28 years of telling myself that love means sacrifice, that family means endurance, that success in business means accepting failure in being accepted. But something is different tonight. Something has broken that can't be repaired. I don't cry. I won't give them that satisfaction. Instead, I carefully place my napkin on the table, the white linen arranged just so, perfectly parallel to my untouched plate. I stand with the same dignity I've maintained through every slight, every snide comment, every reminder that I'm not really one of them. The laughter is starting to fade now, and I can feel some of them realizing that maybe they went too far, that maybe this particular humiliation crossed a line that even they understood existed. "Excuse me," I say quietly, and my voice doesn't shake. I'm proud of that. I walk through the dining room with my head high, past tables of Connecticut's elite who witnessed whatever they witnessed, past the maitre d' who has seen me here dozens of times, through the heavy oak doors and out into the parking lot. The night air is cool against my face, April in Greenwich, still carrying the last whispers of winter. I walk to my Mercedes, the S-Class sedan that I purchased last year, because Gregory said it would look appropriate. I get in, close the door, and lock it. The parking lot is well lit, elegant, discreet. Through the windows of the club, I can see the warm glow of continued celebration. That's when I allow myself 3 minutes, 3 minutes of crying that I've held back for hours, for months, for years. 3 minutes where my carefully constructed composure crumbles, and I press my hands to my face and sob like I haven't since I was a child. 3 minutes where I let myself feel the full weight of what just happened. My husband of 28 years told a room full of people that he pities me, that he never loved me, and they laughed. After 3 minutes, I stop. I take slow, deep breaths. I pull down the visor and look at myself in the mirror. My makeup is smudged, but not ruined. My eyes are red, but not destroyed. I'm 57 years old. I built a jewelry empire from a single small shop and a bank loan that terrified me. I sold that empire for $12 million. I am Simone Pendleton, and I have survived much worse than the cruelty of small people. I take out my phone. My hands are steady now. I scroll through my contacts until I find the name I'm looking for. Elliot Brennan. Gregory's best friend since college. 35 years of friendship between them. I've known Elliot almost as long as I've known Gregory. He's always been kind to me in a way that the rest of them never were. He's always looked at me like I was a person, not a punchline. 3 months ago, I was crying in the garden at a party we hosted. Gregory had introduced me to some potential investors as his lucky charm, and then spent 20 minutes explaining how my success was really just good timing in a bull market. Elliot found me outside. He sat next to me on the stone bench and said something that I've replayed in my mind dozens of times since. Simone, you built an empire. Gregory hasn't even built respect for himself. I stare at Elliot's name on my phone. Tomorrow is Saturday. Gregory will sleep late, nurse his hangover, expect me to eventually forgive him like I've forgiven everything else. The family will expect me to accept their apology if they even bother to offer one. They'll expect life to continue as it has for 28 years, but I make a decision sitting in this car, in this parking lot, on this cool April night. I make a decision that will change everything. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to call Elliot Brennan, and I'm going to ask him a question that I suspect I already know the answer to. I'm going to ask him if he knows what Gregory has really been doing with our money, with our life, with the 35 years of friendship between them. Because 3 months ago, when Elliot made that comment about respect, I saw something in his eyes, something that looked like guilt, something that looked like he knew more than he was saying, something that looked like he was waiting for me to finally ask. I start the car. The engine purrs to life, expensive and smooth. I drive home to the house that I purchased, in the neighborhood that I chose, funded by the success that I built. Gregory will stumble home later, probably expecting to find me in tears or rage. Instead, he'll find the guest room made up for him, because tonight is the last night Gregory Pendleton will sleep in a bed that I paid for while treating me like I should be grateful for his contempt. Tomorrow morning, everything changes. Tomorrow morning, I stop being the woman who accepts pity from a man who should have been grateful. Tomorrow morning, I make a phone call that will unravel 28 years of lies, and I suspect that what I discover will be so much worse than I ever imagined. But tonight, I drive home with my hands steady on the wheel, my tears dried, my decision made. The Riverside Yacht Club disappears in my rearview mirror, and I know with absolute certainty that I will never set foot in that building again. Not as Gregory Pendleton's pitiful wife, not as the woman his family laughs at. That version of me died somewhere between his declaration and their laughter. What comes next will be justice. What comes next will be truth. What comes next will be the reckoning that Gregory Pendleton has earned but never expected to face. Tomorrow, I call Elliot Brennan, and when Gregory comes home from work tomorrow evening and opens the door, he's going to find something he never imagined possible. He's going to find out what happens when you humiliate a woman who has the resources, the intelligence, and finally, the absolute determination to destroy you. I met Gregory Pendleton when I was 29 years old, standing behind the counter of my first jewelry shop on a narrow street in Soho. It was barely more than a closet. That shop, maybe 400 square feet of dreams and desperation. I had taken out a bank loan for $68,000 that kept me awake every night, staring at my ceiling and doing calculations in my head. Could I make rent? Could I pay my suppliers? Could I actually build something real? Or was I just another foolish woman who thought she could succeed where so many others had failed? Gregory walked in on a Tuesday afternoon in October. I remember the exact date because it was 2 weeks before my loan payment was due, and I was $3,000 short. He was 31, wearing a suit that I would later learn cost more than my monthly revenue, and he had this smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the world who mattered. He said he was looking for a gift for his mother's birthday. He spent 45 minutes talking to me about design, about craftsmanship, about the difference between what mass-market retailers sold and what true artisans created. He bought a bracelet for $800. Before he left, he asked if I'd have dinner with him. I should have known then. I should have wondered why a man in a $3,000 suit was shopping in my tiny store when he could afford Cartier or Tiffany. But I was 29, working 16-hour days, eating ramen for dinner most nights, and terrified that everything I'd worked for would collapse. Gregory Pendleton looked at me like I was valuable, like I mattered, like my dreams weren't ridiculous. We dated for 18 months. He introduced me to a world I'd never known existed. Restaurants where the waiters knew his name. Country clubs where generations of families had maintained memberships. Weekend trips to Martha's Vineyard and the Hamptons. His family was old money, or at least they presented themselves that way. The Pendletons had been in Connecticut since before the Revolutionary War, according to Constance, though I would later learn that the family fortune had mostly evaporated 2 generations ago, and what remained was mostly pride and property taxes they could barely afford. But I didn't know that then. I thought Gregory came from security, from stability, from a world where money wasn't something you stayed awake worrying about. I thought he was slumming it, choosing me despite my lack of pedigree. I thought I should be grateful that a man like him saw potential in a girl whose mother cleaned houses for a living. My mother. God, I miss her. She died 6 years before I met Gregory, worked herself to death at 53 because she took 3 jobs to make sure I had what I needed. She never got to see me succeed. She never got to know that her sacrifice meant something, that her daughter became the kind of woman who built empires instead of cleaning them. Gregory proposed on New Year's Eve at the Rainbow Room in Manhattan. Down on one knee, velvet box, diamond ring that I later discovered cost less than he'd implied. I said yes because I loved him, or at least I loved who I thought he was. I said yes because he made me feel like I'd finally arrived somewhere that mattered. I said yes because at 30 years old, I was tired of being alone and scared and unsure if I'd ever be enough for anyone. We married 4 months later in a ceremony at Constance's estate in Greenwich. Small, intimate, elegant. I wore a dress I couldn't afford but purchased anyway, because I wanted to look like I belonged in their world. Gregory's family filled one side of the aisle. My side had 7 people. 7. My few friends from the shop, my mother's sister who I barely knew, a couple of suppliers who'd become friendly over the years. The asymmetry was obvious. The message was clear. I was joining his family. He was not joining mine. The first red flag came during the reception. Constance took me aside, her hand on my arm in what might have looked like affection, and said, "Welcome to the family, dear. I'm sure you'll work very hard to make Gregory proud." Not that she was proud to have me. Not that they were lucky to gain me. But that I would work hard to earn what they were giving me by accepting me into their circle. I should have run then. I should have understood what the next 28 years would hold. But I was 30 years old, newly married, and desperate to believe that love could bridge any gap, that effort could earn acceptance, that success could buy respect. The business grew. My one small shop became 2, then 4, then 8. I had an eye for design that customers loved. I understood what women wanted when they bought jewelry. Not just beauty, but meaning, story, something that made them feel valued. Every piece I sold came with a narrative, a connection, a reason why this particular necklace or bracelet or ring was special. Gregory supported me in the beginning, or at least he appeared to. He'd come to store openings. He'd introduce me to potential investors. He'd tell people his wife was an entrepreneur with a gift for retail. But I noticed how his smile got tighter as my success grew. How he started making jokes about me being the breadwinner. How he'd mention his own career as a financial consultant, with increasing defensiveness, as if he needed to remind everyone that he had value too. Because the truth was, Gregory's career had stalled. He worked for a mid-size consulting firm, managing portfolios for small business owners and retirees. Nothing glamorous, nothing impressive. His income was comfortable but unremarkable. Meanwhile, I was opening new locations, hiring staff, getting written up in fashion magazines. By our 5th anniversary, I was making 4 times what he made. By our 10th, it was more than 8 times. That's when the comments really started. Little cuts disguised as humor. Must be nice to be married to the boss. I'm just the trophy husband. Simone's the real success story in this family. Always said, with a smile, always in front of other people, always designed to sound self-deprecating while actually being an attack. He was reminding everyone that my success was somehow emasculating, that I'd upset the natural order of things. His family embraced this narrative enthusiastically. Constance started making pointed comments about how unusual it was for wives to be so career-focused. Philip would joke about Gregory being henpecked. Margaret, Philip's wife, would ask with false concern if I was planning to slow down, spend more time at home, maybe focus on being a wife instead of just a businesswoman. I had Marcus when I was 33. The pregnancy was difficult. I worked until I was 8 months along because I couldn't afford to let the business suffer. 3 months later, I was back at work because no one else could do what I did. Gregory's contribution to childcare was hiring a nanny that I paid for and occasionally playing with Marcus on weekends when he wasn't golfing or sailing with Philip. Isabel came 2 years later. Another difficult pregnancy, another quick return to work, another reminder from Gregory's family that perhaps I was spreading myself too thin. Perhaps I should consider selling the business. Perhaps I should focus on raising my children properly instead of chasing money. But I couldn't stop. Stopping meant financial insecurity, and I'd grown up with too much of that to ever risk it again. Stopping meant depending entirely on Gregory, and some instinct I didn't want to acknowledge told me that would be dangerous. Stopping meant giving up the one thing that made me feel valuable in my own right, not just as Gregory's wife or Marcus and Isabel's mother. So I kept building. By the time Marcus was 10, I had 15 locations across 3 states. By the time Isabel was 12, I had 22. The business was worth millions, real millions, not the pretend wealth that the Pendletons lived on through increasingly mortgaged property and dwindling trust funds. And that's when I made my biggest mistake. That's when I started using my money to buy what I thought was love, but was actually just deeper resentment. I paid off Philip's boat loan when he faced foreclosure. $63,000. I invested in Marcus's law school education at Yale. $210,000. I gave Constance $50,000 for renovations on her house. I purchased a summer home in Rhode Island that we barely used, but that allowed the family to maintain appearances. I bought Gregory the watches, the cars, the club memberships that kept him looking successful. I thought generosity would earn acceptance. Instead, it taught them that I was an ATM they could access whenever they needed cash, and that they could despise me for having what they thought they deserved by birth. 5 years ago, I sold the business. A private equity firm offered $12 million. Gregory threw a party to celebrate. Not to celebrate my success, but to position himself as the husband who'd supported his wife's little hobby that had surprisingly paid off. He gave a speech about how proud he was, how he'd always believed in me, how this was a family achievement. I stood there smiling, accepting congratulations, knowing that every person in that room believed Gregory's version of our story, that he'd been the steady hand guiding me, that my success was somehow a reflection of his support rather than my work, that I should be grateful to have a husband who tolerated my ambitions. The $12 million sat in accounts that Gregory helped me set up. He assured me he was managing it wisely, making conservative investments, protecting our future. I was tired from 25 years of building and managing, so I let him handle it. I trusted my husband with the money I'd earned. That was 3 years ago. For 3 years, I've been the retired businesswoman, the wealthy wife, the woman who finally had time to be properly domestic. For 3 years, I've attended family gatherings where they've reminded me that money can't buy class, that success in business doesn't mean success in life, that I'll always be the girl from nowhere who got lucky. And for 3 years, I've been waking up with a feeling I couldn't name, a sense that something was wrong, that the man I married was not who I thought he was, that the life I'd built was constructed on foundations that were rotting underneath. Tonight, at the Riverside Yacht Club, those foundations finally collapsed. Tonight, Gregory said out loud what I'd suspected he felt for years. Pity. Not love. Pity. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start asking questions I should have asked decades ago. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to find out exactly who I married and what he's done with my money, my trust, my 28 years. Tomorrow morning, everything changes. I wake up at 6 in the morning in the guest bedroom, which is where I slept after making up the bed with crisp white sheets that still smell like lavender detergent. Gregory stumbled home around 2 a.m. I heard him fumbling with his keys, heard him call my name twice, heard him eventually give up and presumably collapse in our bedroom. Our former bedroom. I will never sleep in that room with him again. The house is silent. This house that I purchased 15 years ago for $4.2 million. Every mortgage payment came from my accounts. Every renovation, every piece of furniture, every carefully chosen artwork on these walls. Mine. I'd forgotten that somewhere along the way. I'd let Gregory's name go on the deed because he said it was better for taxes, better for estate planning, better for reasons I didn't question because I was tired, and he was supposed to be the financial expert. I make coffee in the kitchen, standing at the marble counter that cost $18,000 to install. The morning light comes through the windows that overlook 3 acres of professionally landscaped grounds. $200 a week for the gardening service. Also my money. Everything is my money, I realize. Everything except the contempt. That's the only thing Gregory has contributed that's truly his own. At 7:30, I call Elliot Brennan. The phone rings 3 times before he answers, and his voice is rough with sleep. Simone, I need to talk to you, I say. My voice is steady. I slept 4 hours, but I feel more awake than I have in years. Today, this morning if possible. There's a pause. I can hear him breathing, can almost feel him calculating what this means. Elliot has always been perceptive in ways that Gregory never was. What happened? He asks. Everything, I say simply. Can you meet me? My office, 9 o'clock. I'll be there. I shower and dress carefully. Navy blue pantsuit, simple but expensive. Pearl earrings that I designed myself 20 years ago. Minimal makeup. I look at myself in the mirror and see a woman who is done pretending, done apologizing for existing, done accepting crumbs and calling it love. Gregory is still asleep when I leave. I write a note and leave it on the kitchen counter. Guest room is made up for you. I suggest you use it. That's all. No explanation. No emotion. Just a simple statement of new reality. The drive to Manhattan takes 45 minutes. Elliot's architecture firm is in Tribeca, occupying the top floor of a converted warehouse building. I've been here before, years ago, for a party he hosted. The space is beautiful, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows, somehow managing to be both industrial and elegant. Elliot is waiting in his private office when I arrive. He's dressed casually, jeans and a button-down shirt, clearly came in just for this meeting. At 58, he's aged better than Gregory. Less alcohol, more exercise, fewer years of corroded bitterness eating away at him from the inside. His dark hair is streaked with gray, and his green eyes watch me with an intensity that makes me understand something I've been deliberately not understanding for a very long time. Coffee? He offers. Please. He pours from a French press into 2 ceramic mugs. We sit across from each other in leather chairs positioned near the windows. Below us, Tribeca is coming awake. Delivery trucks and early morning joggers and the relentless energy of a city that never stops moving. Tell me, Elliot says. So I tell him. About the dinner. About Gregory's declaration. About the laughter. I keep my voice calm and factual, but I watch Elliot's face harden with each sentence. His jaw tightens. His hands grip the coffee mug until his knuckles go white. Jesus Christ, he says when I finish. Simone, I'm so sorry. I've wanted to say something for years. Say what? He sets down his mug and leans forward, elbows on his knees. That Gregory doesn't deserve you. That he's never deserved you. That I've watched him treat you like shit for 28 years, and I've been a coward for not calling him out on it. You're his best friend. I was his friend, Elliot corrects. Past tense. That ended a long time ago, Simone. I just didn't have the guts to make it official. I study his face. 3 months ago, in the garden, you said Gregory hadn't built respect for himself. What did you mean? Elliot stands and walks to his desk. He opens a drawer and pulls out a manila folder, thick with papers. He stares at it for a long moment before returning to sit across from me. I mean that Gregory Pendleton is a fraud, he says quietly. And I have proof. He hands me the folder. I open it with hands that have started trembling. Inside are bank statements, investment records, correspondence, email printouts, all dated over the past 3 years, all showing transactions that I never authorized, never knew about, never would have approved. $340,000, Elliot says. That's how much Gregory has moved from your joint accounts into cryptocurrency investments that failed. He created false statements to hide the losses. I know, because he asked me to help him do it 2 years ago. He wanted me to falsify property appraisals to support his cover story about real estate investments. My vision blurs. Not from tears, but from rage so pure, it feels like it might burn through my retinas. I said no, Elliot continues. I told him I wouldn't be part of it. He found another architect, someone less ethical, and got his fake appraisals. But I started investigating because I knew that if this came out, you'd be implicated. You'd be seen as complicit, so I started documenting everything I could find. I flipped through pages. Each one is another betrayal. Transfers to accounts I don't recognize, investments in ventures that clearly failed, money disappearing from the accounts I trusted Gregory to manage responsibly. There's more, Elliot says, and his voice has gone even quieter. Gregory has been maintaining an apartment in Stamford for the past 4 years, $4,200 a month, paid from your joint operating account, listed as freelance consulting services from a woman named Claire Hutchins. He hands me another set of papers. Photos. A blonde woman, maybe 41 or 42, pretty in a conventional way. Photos of her entering an apartment building. Photos of Gregory entering the same building. Photos of them together at restaurants, at a movie theater, walking through a park, holding hands. Claire works at his firm, Elliot says. Junior associate. He's been seeing her for 4 years that I know of. Maybe longer. I should feel devastated. I should feel my heart breaking. Instead, I feel something else. I feel the last chains of obligation falling away. I feel freedom arriving dressed in betrayal. How long have you known? I ask. About Claire? 2 years? About the money? I've been tracking it for 3 years, since he asked me to help him commit fraud. Why didn't you tell me? Elliot's face shows real pain. Because you loved him, Simone. Every time I thought about telling you, I'd see you at parties, at dinners, trying so hard to make that marriage work, trying so hard to be enough for him. And I told myself that maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was seeing things that weren't there. Maybe my own. He stops, swallows. Maybe my own feelings were making me see problems that didn't exist. Your own feelings, I repeat softly. I've been in love with you for 15 years, Elliot says, and his voice is raw. Since the night of your 50th birthday party. You wore that midnight blue dress and you looked so beautiful, and Gregory spent the entire evening ignoring you while he networked. I found you standing alone on the terrace, and you were crying, and you said, I made myself successful so someone would love me, but it turns out success just makes you more alone. And I wanted to tell you then that you weren't alone, that someone saw you, really saw you, but you were married to my best friend. So I said nothing. The room is very quiet. Below us, the city moves on, oblivious. I should have told you about the money, Elliot continues. About Claire. About everything. I should have been brave enough to blow up your marriage years ago because it deserved to be blown up. Instead, I documented evidence and told myself I was protecting you, when really I was just being a coward. I stand and walk to the windows. My reflection stares back at me, superimposed over the Manhattan skyline. 57 years old, still elegant, still strong, still worth more than pity. I want to see everything, I say, every document you have, every piece of evidence, every transaction. Simone, there's more you need to know. I turn to face him. Tell me. Gregory has been moving money into offshore accounts, Cayman Islands. The documentation is buried, but I found it. He's been preparing for something. Maybe he's planning to leave you. Maybe he's planning to hide assets before you figure out what he's done. Either way, he's been systematically stealing from you and preparing to get away with it. The rage that I've been controlling so carefully begins to slip its leash. How much in total? That I can prove? $467,000, but I think it's more. I think there are accounts I haven't found yet. I return to my chair. I need lawyers, plural. Divorce attorney, criminal attorney, someone who specializes in financial fraud. I have names, Elliot says immediately. I've been preparing for this conversation for 2 years, Simone. I have a list of the best attorneys in the state, people who will fight for you, people who will destroy Gregory in court if it comes to that. It's going to come to that. Good, Elliot says fiercely. He deserves to lose everything. We spend the next 3 hours going through every document in Elliot's folder. He shows me patterns of behavior, systematic theft disguised as investment management. He shows me how Gregory falsified statements, how he created paper trails that would make the losses look like legitimate market downturns rather than reckless gambling with my money. The cryptocurrency investments were particularly stupid, Elliot explains. He put $340,000 into something called Vision Coin that was obviously a scam. Anyone with basic financial literacy could have seen it. But Gregory was desperate. His career has been stagnant for 15 years. He's made almost no money of his own. He was trying to turn your money into his success story. And when it failed, he hid it. He's been living on the remaining funds in your joint accounts while pretending everything is fine. The house expenses, the club memberships, the cars, the trips, all funded by you, while he slowly drains what's left to maintain his lifestyle and support his mistress. My phone buzzes. A text from Gregory. "Where are you? We need to talk about last night." I silence the phone without responding. "I want to meet with attorneys on Monday," I say. "All of them. Divorce, fraud, everything. I want to understand my options completely before I make any moves." "Already arranged," Elliot says. "I texted 3 attorneys this morning after you called. They're expecting us Monday at 9. "Us? If you want me there, as a witness, as someone with documentation, as—" He hesitates. "As your friend. I want you there," I say. The words feel important. "Elliot, why are you doing this? You're going to lose a 35-year friendship." "That friendship ended the first time I watched Gregory treat you like you were worthless," Elliot says. "I just didn't have the courage to admit it until now. And maybe I'm selfish. Maybe part of me wants to see if, when you're free of him, there might be—" He stops. "I'm sorry. This isn't the time." "No," I say. "It's exactly the time. For truth, for honesty, for saying things that should have been said years ago." My phone buzzes again. Another text from Gregory. "Simone, don't be dramatic. Come home so we can discuss this like adults." The condescension in those words, even via text, is breathtaking. "I need to go back to Greenwich," I say, "but I'm not ready to face him yet. I need to know everything first. I need to be prepared for whatever he's going to say." "There's something else," Elliot says reluctantly. "The family knows. About the money, I mean. Philip borrowed $80,000 from Gregory 2 years ago, supposedly for boat repairs. That money came from your joint account. Philip never paid it back. Constance got $50,000 last year for roof repairs that never happened. Marcus borrowed $85,000 for his law office expansion. None of it was paid back because they all understood it was your money and they felt entitled to it. They've been stealing from me too. With Gregory's permission and participation, yes. He's been playing the generous benefactor with your money, buying their loyalty, making himself look good while depleting your accounts. I think about Marcus at dinner last night, laughing at his father's cruelty. About Philip making jokes about who really pays the bills. About Constance wiping tears of mirth from her eyes. They laughed because they felt safe. They laughed because Gregory had given them permission. They laughed because they've been feeding off me for years and resented me for it anyway. I want it all back, I say. Every dollar. From Gregory, from his family, from everyone who took my money and gave me contempt in return. It's going to be ugly, Elliot warns. Good, I say, echoing his earlier word. I've been elegant for 28 years. I'm done being elegant. Now I'm going to be ruthless. We leave his office at 1 in the afternoon. In the elevator, Elliot says, "What are you going to do when you see him?" "Nothing yet," I say. "I'm going to go home. I'm going to act normal. I'm going to let Gregory think he got away with it, that I'll forgive him like I've forgiven everything else. And while he's feeling safe, I'm going to dismantle his entire life, piece by piece. When do you want him to know?" I think about this. Friday. Give me 5 days to get everything in order. 5 days to document everything in my name, to secure my accounts, to prepare my case. Then Friday evening, when Gregory comes home from work and opens that door, he's going to find something he never imagined. What? Justice, I say simply. He's going to find justice waiting for him. Elliot walks me to my car. Before I get in, he touches my arm gently. "Simone, whatever happens next, whatever you need, I'm here. Not because I want something from you, but because you deserve to have someone in your corner who actually gives a damn." I look at him, really look at him, and see a man who has been waiting 15 years for me to wake up. "Thank you," I say, "for the documents, for the truth, for caring when no one else did." I drive back to Greenwich with a clarity of purpose I haven't felt since I was 29 years old and taking out that first terrifying loan. I'm going to war, and this time I have weapons that Gregory never anticipated. I have documentation, I have evidence, I have resources, and most importantly, I have absolutely nothing left to lose. The next 5 days are a performance worthy of an Oscar. I smile at Gregory over breakfast. I ask about his day. I pretend that Friday night at the Riverside Yacht Club was just an unfortunate incident fueled by too much wine and family dynamics that got out of hand. I watch him relax into the belief that I'm doing exactly what I've always done. Forgiving, forgetting, moving on, because that's what good wives do. Monday morning, while Gregory is at work, I meet with the attorneys. 3 of them, just like Elliot promised. Dr. Sarah Klein specializes in high-asset divorces. David Rothstein handles financial fraud cases. Patricia Moreno focuses on asset protection and recovery. We sit in a conference room in a downtown Hartford office building, and I watch their faces as Elliot presents the documentation he's compiled. "This is extensive," Sarah says, flipping through pages. "Mrs. Pendleton, with this evidence, your husband will walk away from this marriage with virtually nothing." "That's the goal," I say. We spend 4 hours going through every detail. The prenuptial agreement that Gregory signed 28 years ago, the one he conveniently forgot, existed. It's ironclad. In cases of proven infidelity or financial malfeasance, the spouse at fault forfeits all claim to marital assets. Gregory's affair with Claire, documented in photographs and financial records, constitutes infidelity. His systematic theft and fraud constitute financial malfeasance. He's violated the prenuptial agreement in every possible way. "The house is in your name exclusively," Patricia confirms after reviewing the deed. "The investment accounts that contain legitimate funds are in your name. The retirement accounts are separate. You're protected on almost every front." "What about the money he stole?" "We can pursue criminal charges," David says. "The offshore accounts, the falsified statements, the unauthorized transfers. This constitutes fraud. The district attorney would likely be very interested in this case." "But," I hear the hesitation in his voice, "but criminal cases are unpredictable. They take time, and they'd be public. Very public. Your name would be in the newspapers, on television. The humiliation factor would be significant." I think about this, about my name being dragged through headlines, about becoming a cautionary tale, about the Pendleton family's schadenfreude as they watch me suffer publicly, even as Gregory goes down. What's the alternative? "We leverage the threat of criminal prosecution to force a settlement," Sarah explains. "We present him with everything we have. We make it clear that if he fights us, if he tries to claim any marital assets, if he does anything other than sign every document we put in front of him, we go to the DA with evidence of fraud. We go to his professional licensing board. We make sure he never works in finance again. We destroy him systematically." "He'd still walk away," I say. "He'd lose everything, but he'd be free." "Is that what you want?" Patricia asks gently. "For him to go to prison?" I consider this honestly. Do I want Gregory in prison? Do I want him prosecuted, convicted, incarcerated? Or do I just want him out of my life forever, stripped of everything he stole, forced to face his own mediocrity without my money to hide behind? "I want him to understand what he's lost," I say finally. "I want him to spend the rest of his life knowing that he had something real, someone who actually loved him, and he destroyed it for nothing. Prison might almost be easier. Living with his own choices, poor and alone and facing the consequences, that's the real punishment." The attorneys exchange glances. "Then we go with option 2, Sarah says. "We prepare divorce papers with the prenuptial enforcement. We prepare documents for the return of all stolen funds, including amounts taken by family members. We prepare a comprehensive settlement that leaves him with exactly what he came into this marriage with, which based on these records was approximately $80,000 in a retirement account and a 10-year-old car." "Perfect," I say. Tuesday and Wednesday, I spend organizing my own finances. I move money from joint accounts into accounts in my name only. I change passwords on everything. I secure my safety deposit box. I make copies of every important document in the house. I do it all while Gregory is at work, methodically protecting everything I've built. Thursday morning, Isabel comes to the house. My daughter has been calling every day since the dinner, worried, apologetic, angry at her father and brother. I've been putting her off, telling her I need time to process, but today I invite her for coffee. We sit in the kitchen, morning light streaming through the windows, and I tell her everything. Not about Elliot's feelings for me, that's private, but about the money. about Claire, about the systematic theft and betrayal. I watch my daughter's face go through shock, anger, disgust, and finally, a kind of relieved vindication. I knew something was wrong, Isabel says. I've known for years that Dad was, I don't know, wrong. The way he treated you, the way he talked about you behind your back. Mom, I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner. You were trying to keep the family together, I say. That's not your fault. What are you going to do? Tomorrow, when your father comes home from work, he's going to find me, my attorneys, and Elliot waiting for him. We're going to present him with divorce papers and evidence of everything he's done. We're going to give him a choice: sign everything and walk away or face criminal prosecution. Isabel is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "Good. He deserves it." Mom, he deserves all of it. Your brother won't see it that way. Marcus is just like Dad, Isabel says bitterly. He's been taking money from you for years and resenting you for having it. You know he owes you $85,000? He told Jennifer it was inheritance advance that he deserved anyway. Like your money is his birthright. I'm getting it back, I say. All of it. From your father, from Marcus, from Philip, from everyone who took advantage. Good, Isabel says again. She reaches across the table and takes my hand. Mom, you should have done this years ago. You deserve so much better than what this family has given you. Thursday night, Gregory comes home and finds dinner on the table. Chicken piccata, his favorite. He kisses the top of my head like nothing has changed, like he didn't publicly humiliate me 6 days ago, like he hasn't been stealing from me and cheating on me for years. I watch him eat and smile and talk about his day, and I feel absolutely nothing. Not love, not even hatred, just cold, clear determination. Friday morning, I wake up at 5 a.m. Today is the day. Today, 28 years of lies come to an end. I dress carefully. Charcoal gray dress, simple but authoritative. Pearl necklace, hair pulled back. I look like someone who means business because that's exactly what I am. The attorneys arrive at 4 p.m. Elliot comes at 4:30. We set up in the living room, documents arranged on the coffee table, everyone in position. We're ready. At 5:45, I hear Gregory's car in the driveway. I hear his key in the lock. I hear the door open, and I watch as my husband of 28 years walks into his reckoning. Gregory stops in the doorway, his briefcase still in his hand, his face cycling through confusion, alarm, and then a carefully constructed mask of casual curiosity. He's good at that, I realize. The mask. 28 years of watching him perform normalcy when underneath there's nothing but calculation and self-interest. What's going on here? He asks, and his tone is light, almost amused, like he's walked in on a surprise party that he's pretending not to have expected. Close the door, Gregory, I say. My voice is calm. I'm sitting in the chair by the fireplace, the one I've always thought of as mine even though I bought every piece of furniture in this house. And put down your briefcase. You're going to want to sit down for this. He sees the attorneys then. 3 people in business attire. Documents spread across the coffee table. Professional expressions that communicate, this is not a social call. He sees Elliot standing by the window, arms crossed, face hard. Gregory's mask slips for just a moment, and I see fear flicker across his features before he regains control. Simone, what is this? Who are these people? These are my attorneys, I say. Doctor. Sarah Klein specializes in divorce. David Rothstein handles financial fraud. Patricia Moreno focuses on asset recovery. And Elliot, you know, of course, your best friend of 35 years, or should I say former best friend. Gregory looks at Elliot with something between betrayal and rage. What the hell did you do? I did what I should have done years ago, Elliot says quietly. I told the truth. Sit down, Gregory, Sarah says, and there's steel in her voice. She gestures to the sofa across from where I'm sitting. We have a lot to discuss, and not much patience for dramatics. Gregory moves slowly into the room. He's still holding his briefcase like it's a shield. He sits on the edge of the sofa, and I can see his mind working, trying to figure out what we know, how much trouble he's in, what strategy will get him out of this. Let me start with the good news, Sarah says, opening a folder. You're not going to prison, probably. That's entirely up to you and how you handle the next hour. The color drains from Gregory's face. Prison? What are you talking about? Simone, this is insane. Whatever Elliot told you, whatever he thinks he knows. $467,000, I interrupt. My voice cuts through his protests like a knife. That's how much money you've stolen from me over the past 3 years. $340,000 in failed cryptocurrency investments that you hid by falsifying account statements. $87,000 moved to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. $40,000 in cash withdrawals that you claimed were business expenses but were actually payments to maintain your mistress. Gregory's mouth opens, closes, opens again. That's not Claire Hutchins, I continue. 41 years old, junior associate at your firm. You've been seeing her for 4 years. You've been paying for her apartment in Stamford, $4,200 a month, listed in our joint operating account as freelance consulting services. Did you really think I wouldn't eventually notice? Simone, I can explain. No, I say, and the word comes out harder than I intended. You cannot explain. There is no explanation that makes this acceptable. There is no story you can tell that will make me believe this was anything other than systematic theft, betrayal, and fraud. David Rothstein picks up where I left off. Mr. Pendleton, let me outline your current legal situation. You have committed multiple counts of financial fraud, including falsification of financial documents, unauthorized transfer of funds, and potential money laundering through offshore accounts. The evidence we have is extensive and documented. If we take this to the district attorney, you will be prosecuted. You will lose your professional licenses. You will very likely go to prison. This is ridiculous, Gregory says, but his voice has lost its confidence. Half that money is mine. We're married. It's marital assets. Actually, no, Patricia Moreno says, sliding a document across the coffee table toward him. This is the prenuptial agreement you signed 28 years ago. Perhaps you've forgotten about it. Page 7, Section 3, Paragraph B clearly states that in the event of proven infidelity or financial malfeasance by either party, that party forfeits all claims to marital assets and retains only what they brought into the marriage. Gregory picks up the document with shaking hands. I watch him read, watch the realization sink in, watch 28 years of assumed security crumble. You brought approximately $80,000 in retirement savings into this marriage, Patricia continues. That's what you'll leave with. Everything else, the house, the investment accounts, the cars, the club memberships, all of it belongs to Simone. You have no legal claim to any of it. That's not fair, Gregory says, and there's desperation in his voice now. I've been your husband for 28 years, Simone. I've supported you. You've supported me? The words come out sharper than I intended. Gregory, you have not made a single mortgage payment on this house, not one. You haven't paid for a single renovation, a single piece of furniture, a single utility bill. Your entire lifestyle for 28 years has been funded by my money while you systematically stole from me and told everyone who would listen that you pitied me. That was the wine talking. I didn't mean, yes, you did, I say. You meant every word. And so did your family when they laughed. Let's talk about your family, actually. Philip borrowed $80,000 2 years ago for boat repairs. Money that came from my accounts without my knowledge or permission. He never paid it back. Constance took $50,000 last year for roof repairs that never happened. Marcus borrowed $85,000 for his law office that he told his wife was an inheritance advance. None of it was paid back because you were playing generous benefactor with my money. Gregory's face has gone gray. They needed help. Family helps family. I wasn't family, I say. I was never family to them. I was a wallet, a resource to be exploited while simultaneously being mocked for not having the pedigree they pretended to have. And you encouraged it. You orchestrated it. You gave them my money to buy their loyalty while undermining me at every turn. Sarah Klein takes over. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Pendleton. You're going to sign divorce papers that enforce the prenuptial agreement. You're going to transfer all stolen funds back to accounts in Simone's name exclusively. You're going to relinquish any and all claims to property, vehicles, investments, and future earnings. You're going to do this today, right now, while we're all here to witness it. And if I refuse? Gregory asks. His voice is small. Then Monday morning, David goes to the district attorney with a complete file documenting your fraud. Sarah says. He goes to the Connecticut Department of Banking and presents evidence of your professional misconduct. He contacts every client whose money you mismanaged and informs them of your actions. And we make sure that everyone in Greenwich, everyone at the Riverside Yacht Club, everyone in your professional network knows exactly what you did and why you're being prosecuted. You destroy my reputation, Gregory says. You destroyed it yourself, Elliot says from his position by the window. We're just making sure everyone knows about it. Gregory turns to Elliot with pure hatred. 35 years. We've been friends for 35 years, and you're doing this? You're helping her destroy me? I'm helping her get justice, Elliot says. Something you should have given her voluntarily every day of your marriage. Gregory, you had an extraordinary woman who loved you, who built an empire, who funded your entire lifestyle, and you repaid her with theft, infidelity, and public humiliation. I've watched it for years. I've been complicit in it by staying silent. That ends today. You're in love with her, Gregory says suddenly, and there's venom in his voice. That's what this is about. You want my wife. Your soon-to-be ex-wife, Elliot corrects. And my feelings are irrelevant to the fact that you're a thief and a fraud. Sign the papers, Gregory. It's over. Gregory looks around the room like a trapped animal. He looks at me, and I see him trying to calculate if there's any play left, any manipulation that might work, any way to turn this around. Simone, please, he says, and his voice breaks. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. 28 years of marriage, that has to mean something. It does mean something, I say quietly. It means I wasted 28 years on a man who never valued me. It means I spent nearly 3 decades trying to earn love from someone who was only capable of contempt. It means I let fear of being alone keep me in a marriage that was killing me slowly from the inside. I do love you, Gregory says, and tears are actually forming in his eyes. I know I haven't shown it well, but I do. We can start over. I'll go to therapy. I'll fix this. You can't fix this, I say. You humiliated me in front of your entire family. You stole from me for years. You've been cheating on me with a woman young enough to be your daughter. You've systematically undermined my confidence, my sense of self-worth, my belief that I deserve to be loved. You can't therapy your way out of that, Gregory. Some things, once broken, can't be repaired. Sarah slides the first document across the table. Divorce petition. Sign here, here, and here. Gregory stares at the papers. His hands are shaking. What about the house? My clothes, my things? You have until Sunday at noon to remove your personal belongings, Patricia says. Anything you purchased with your own money, any gifts given to you personally, any items that predate the marriage. Everything else stays. The suits Simone bought you, the watches, the electronics, the car, all of it stays because it was purchased with her money. That's everything I own, Gregory says. No, I correct. That's everything you stole. There's a difference. He picks up the pen with shaking hands. If I sign this, the criminal charges go away. If you sign everything, transfer all stolen funds, and leave peacefully, we won't pursue criminal charges, David confirms. But if you violate any term of this agreement, if you come back here, if you contact Simone except through attorneys, if you try to claim any asset you've forfeited, the deal is off, and we go to the DA immediately. Gregory signs the first document, then the second, then the third. Each signature is a small death. I can see it in his face. The death of his comfortable lifestyle, the death of his social standing, the death of the fiction he's been living where he was the successful man, graciously tolerating his nouveau riche wife. The offshore accounts, David says. We need the access codes. I don't have them memorized. Then get them, David says flatly. Call your bank. Access your records. We're not leaving here until every account is emptied and transferred back to Simone. It takes another 45 minutes. Gregory on his phone, providing information to David, watching as $467,000 moves from hidden accounts back to where it belongs. Each transfer seems to age him. By the time we're finished, he looks 10 years older than when he walked through the door. The family loans, I say. Philip, Constance, Marcus, I want that money back. They don't have it, Gregory says weakly. Philip spent it. Constance spent it. Marcus, I don't care, I say. They took money that wasn't theirs. They can get loans, they can sell assets, they can do whatever they need to do, but I want it back, every dollar. You're going to contact each of them and inform them that they have 60 days to repay what they stole, or I'll pursue legal action against them individually. Simone, they're family. They're thieves, I say, just like you. The only difference is I'm giving them 60 days to make it right before I destroy them too. Sarah hands Gregory another document. Property transfer. This officially removes your name from the deed to this house. Sign. He signs. Vehicle title transfer. The Mercedes, the BMW in the garage, both registered to Simone exclusively. Sign. He signs. Final financial disclosure. This confirms you have no claims to any investment accounts, retirement funds, or other assets acquired during the marriage. Sign. He signs. When it's done, when every document is signed and witnessed and notarized by the notary public that Sarah brought along, Gregory sits on the sofa looking completely destroyed. Empty. A man who walked into his own life and found out it was never really his to begin with. You need to leave now, I say. You can come back tomorrow morning to pack your things. Elliot will be here to supervise and document what you take. You have until Sunday at noon. After that, the locks change, and if you come back, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Gregory stands slowly. He looks at me one last time, and I see him searching for something. Maybe forgiveness, maybe mercy, maybe some indication that there's a way back from this. He finds nothing. I have nothing left to give him. I'm sorry, he says finally. For what it's worth, Simone, I'm truly sorry. So am I say. I'm sorry I wasted 28 years on you. I'm sorry I let you convince me I wasn't enough. I'm sorry I didn't do this years ago. Gregory walks to the door. Before he leaves, Elliot says, Gregory, don't contact her. Don't show up here outside the agreed times. Don't make this harder than it has to be. You got off easy. Prison was a real possibility. Accept your losses and move on. Gregory doesn't respond. He just opens the door and walks out into the early evening. I hear his car start. I hear him drive away. And then there's silence. The attorneys begin packing up their documents. Sarah touches my shoulder gently. You did the right thing. This was handled perfectly. Thank you, I say. All of you. Thank you for giving me my life back. After they leave, it's just Elliot and me in the living room. The house feels different already. Lighter. Like a weight I didn't know I was carrying has finally been lifted. How do you feel? Elliot asks. Free, I say. And then, because it's true, angry, sad, relieved. All of it at once. He comes and sits beside me. Not too close. Respectful of boundaries. What happens now? Now? I smile. And it's the first genuine smile I've felt in days. Now I figure out who I am without Gregory Pendleton defining me. Now I build a life that's actually mine. Now I stop apologizing for taking up space in the world. That sounds like a good plan, Elliot says softly. And maybe, I add, looking at him directly, maybe eventually, I figure out what it's like to be with someone who actually values me, someone who sees me, someone who's been waiting patiently for 15 years. Elliot's eyes widen slightly. Simone, not now, I say. I need time. I need to heal. I need to remember who I was before Gregory convinced me I wasn't enough. But eventually, when I'm ready, if you're still interested, I'll wait, Elliot says. I've gotten pretty good at it. He leaves shortly after, and I'm alone in my house for the first time as a woman who's about to be divorced. I walk through rooms that are finally, truly mine. I pour myself a glass of wine and stand at the window, watching the sun set over the grounds I've maintained for 15 years. Gregory Pendleton came home today expecting normalcy. Instead, he found justice. He found consequences. He found out what happens when you underestimate a woman who's finally done being underestimated. And tomorrow, when the sun rises, I'll begin the rest of my life. The real one. The one where I matter. Saturday morning, Gregory arrives at 9 a.m. sharp. Elliot is already here, sitting in the kitchen with coffee, and I'm grateful for his presence. Not because I'm afraid of Gregory, but because having a witness matters. Having someone in my corner after 28 years of facing this family alone matters more than I expected it would. Gregory looks terrible. He clearly didn't sleep. His eyes are red-rimmed, his clothes rumpled, and he moves through the house like a ghost visiting his former life. He brings boxes, the kind you get from liquor stores, cheap and temporary, appropriate for a man packing up a life he never really owned. He takes clothes from the closet. Not all of them, because half of what's in there I purchased. He takes the watch his father gave him when he graduated college, a few books, some photographs from before we met. It's pathetic, really, how little of his own identity he has. Almost everything in this house, in his life, came from me, or was purchased with my money. Isabel shows up around 11. She doesn't speak to her father. She just stands in the doorway of what used to be their parents' bedroom and watches him pack with an expression of profound disappointment. When Gregory tries to talk to her, tries to explain, she cuts him off. "Dad, don't. Just don't. I've spent 28 years watching you treat Mom like she was your burden instead of your blessing. I'm done pretending it was okay. I'm done being part of this family's conspiracy against her." "Isabel, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," she says. "You're a thief and a liar, and you destroyed the best thing that ever happened to you. That's all I need to understand." Gregory leaves at noon with 4 boxes and 2 suitcases. Everything he has to show for 28 years of marriage. He loads them into a rental car because even his vehicle belongs to me. Before he drives away, he looks back at the house one last time, and I watch from the window. I feel nothing. Not satisfaction, not regret, not even pity. Just the vast relief of knowing he's gone. The locks are changed by 2 p.m., a service I hired yesterday, efficient and professional. New keys for me, for Isabel, for the housekeeper who's been with me for 12 years and who told me yesterday that she's glad I'm finally getting rid of that man. Monday morning, I make phone calls. First to Philip. His wife Margaret answers, and I can hear the wariness in her voice when she realizes it's me. I need to speak with Philip about the $80,000 he borrowed from my accounts 2 years ago, I say pleasantly. He has 60 days to repay it, or I'll be filing a civil suit. "Simone, that was a gift," Gregory said. Gregory lied. It was theft. 60 days, Margaret. I suggest Philip get a loan or sell that boat he supposedly repaired with my money. I hang up before she can respond. Constance is next. She answers on the 4th ring, her voice imperious and cold. "Simone, I've heard about this ridiculous divorce nonsense. You need to reconsider." "You have 60 days to repay the $50,000 you took last year," I interrupt. "Otherwise, I'm filing suit. I'd suggest you sell something, maybe that summer house that's mortgaged to the hilt. I'm sure someone would buy it." "How dare you? How dare I?" My voice is steel. "Constance, you spent 28 years making me feel like I wasn't good enough for your family. You laughed when Gregory humiliated me. You took my money while treating me like garbage. How dare you expect me to let you get away with it?" I hang up. My hands are shaking, but it's not fear. It's power. It's the feeling of finally standing up for myself. Marcus is the hardest call. He's my son, but he's also a man who learned his father's cruelty and made it his own. He doesn't answer. I leave a voicemail. "Marcus, you owe me $85,000. You told Jennifer it was an inheritance advance. It wasn't. It was theft. You have 60 days to repay it, or I'm taking you to court. I love you, but I'm done funding your disrespect." Tuesday, I meet with a financial advisor, someone Patricia recommended. We go through everything. My net worth, even after Gregory's theft, is substantial. $8.7 million in liquid assets. The house, worth $5.3 million. Investment properties I'd almost forgotten about, generating passive income. I'm not just comfortable. I'm wealthy by any reasonable definition. "Mrs. Pendleton," the advisor says, "you're in an excellent position. With proper management, you'll never have to worry about money again." "I never had to worry about money," I say. "I just had to worry about the people who wanted to take it from me." Wednesday, I have lunch with Isabel at a restaurant in downtown Greenwich. We sit outside in the spring sunshine, and my daughter looks lighter than I've seen her in years. "Marcus called me," she says. "He's furious. He says you're tearing the family apart over money." "I'm not tearing anything apart," I say. "I'm just refusing to keep it together with my bank account. If that's all that was holding this family together, it wasn't a family worth having." "He won't pay you back," Isabel says. "Neither will Uncle Philip or Grandma. They think you're bluffing. Then they'll find out I'm not," I say simply. "I have excellent attorneys." I'll win. Isabel smiles. Good. They deserve it. Mom, I'm proud of you. I should have said that before. I'm proud that you're finally standing up for yourself. Thursday, I get a call from Claire Hutchins, Gregory's mistress, former mistress, I suppose. Her voice is young and uncertain and slightly desperate. Mrs. Pendleton, this is Claire. I'm the woman your husband was seeing. I know who you are, I say calmly. What do you want? He's living with me now, in the apartment. And he says he can't pay rent anymore. He says you took everything, and I can't afford to support him. I make $42,000 a year. I can barely support myself. I should feel angry. This woman was sleeping with my husband for 4 years, but instead, I feel something closer to pity. She's 41 years old, and she just discovered what I learned too late. Gregory Pendleton is a parasite who will drain whoever is foolish enough to let him. Claire, I'm going to give you some advice, I say. Tell him to leave. Today. Don't let him convince you to support him while he gets back on his feet. He won't. He'll drain you dry and resent you for not having more to give. Get him out now, before you waste years of your life like I did. There's silence. Then, quietly, thank you. I'm sorry. For what I did. For the affair. You weren't married to me, I say. He was. He's the one who broke vows. You were just foolish enough to believe his lies. Learn from it. I hang up. An hour later, Elliot texts me. Gregory just showed up at my office asking for a loan. I told him to leave or I'd call security. Thought you'd want to know. I text back. Thank you for telling me. And thank you for everything else. His response comes immediately. Anytime. I mean that. Friday marks 1 week since the confrontation. 1 week since I reclaimed my life. I'm sitting in the garden, the one I designed and paid for, reading a book and drinking tea, when I realize I'm happy. Actually happy. Not the performance of happiness I'd maintained for years, but real contentment. My phone rings. It's Sarah Klein, my divorce attorney. Simone, the divorce will be final in 60 days. Gregory hasn't contested anything. It's going to be the smoothest high-asset divorce I've ever handled. Good, I say. What about the family loans? Philip's attorney contacted us. He's agreed to a payment plan. $3,000 a month for 27 months. Constance hasn't responded yet, but we'll file suit next week if we don't hear from her. Marcus, she pauses. Marcus sent a very angry email calling you vindictive and threatening to never speak to you again if you pursue this. File the suit, I say without hesitation. He's my son, and I love him. But love doesn't mean enabling his entitlement. Maybe losing in court will teach him something his father never did. 2 months pass. The divorce becomes final on a Tuesday morning in June. I'm not in court. Neither is Gregory. Our attorneys handle it all, and then it's done. 28 years of marriage dissolved in paperwork and signatures. That evening, Elliot takes me to dinner. Not as a date, though it feels a little like one. As a celebration. As two friends acknowledging the end of one chapter and the tentative beginning of another. How does it feel? He asks over wine at a restaurant in Manhattan, far from Greenwich and its gossip and its judgment. Like I can breathe again, I say honestly. Like I'm 57 years old and my life is finally starting. What's next? I'm starting a foundation, I tell him. Microloans for women entrepreneurs from humble backgrounds, women like my mother, like I was at 29. Women who have vision and drive, but no access to capital or connections. I'm calling it the Eleanor Foundation, after my mother. Elliot's eyes shine. Simone, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And I'm going to travel, I continue. I've spent 28 years making myself small, staying in Greenwich, playing the role of Gregory's wife. I want to see Paris. I want to go to Kyoto. I want to spend a month in New Zealand just because I can. Can I? Elliot hesitates. Can I come visit you sometime? Wherever you are? I look at this man who documented evidence for 2 years, who betrayed a 35-year friendship because it was the right thing to do, who has been patient and kind and honest when no one else in my life was. Yes, I say. I'd like that. When I'm ready. When I've figured out who Simone Pendleton is without anyone else defining her. Then yes, I'd very much like that. 3 months after the divorce, I'm sitting in the study of my house, now officially and entirely mine, when I get an email from Marcus. Just 3 sentences. Mom, I'm sorry. I've been talking to a therapist, And I see now how Dad and I treated you. I want to do better. Can we talk? I stare at those words for a long time. My son. My complicated, difficult, misguided son who learned all the wrong lessons from his father. Can people change? Can relationships be repaired? I don't know yet. But I write back, yes, we can talk, but on my terms, with honesty, and with the understanding that forgiveness isn't automatic. It's earned. His response comes an hour later. I understand. Thank you for giving me a chance. It's not redemption. Not yet. But it's possibility. And that's more than I had 3 months ago. I look around my study, at the books I've collected, the art I've chosen, the space I've created. I'm 57 years old. I'm wealthy. I'm free. I'm surrounded by possibilities I never allowed myself to imagine when I was trying so hard to be enough for people who never deserved me. Gregory Pendleton told a room full of people he married me out of pity, but he was wrong. I was never the one who deserved pity. He was. He had something real, something valuable, something precious, and he destroyed it because he couldn't see past his own inadequacy. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm just grateful that I finally opened that door and found the courage to walk through it. The rest of my life is waiting, and this time, I'm the only one who gets to decide what it looks like.